分享精彩故事，带来不同视角。大家好，我是大宇，欢迎来到与众不同。如果您还没有订阅我的频道，请您订阅。今天我非常开心地邀请到了我头马演讲俱乐部的一位朋友 Jeanne Keiper 来分享她的故事。作为一个美国人，也要带孙子，并且要卖掉自己的房子，举家搬迁到另一个城市，并且在不同的州。他为什么要做这样的决定？这种做法在美国常见吗？那么下面就让我们一起来听听他的故事。
My name's Jeanne Keiper, and I live in San Diego currently, although I'm going to be moving soon. I'm in Scripps Ranch, where I've been living for the last 32 years, and I have been working as a nurse at Scripps Mercy Hospital. That's in the Hillcrest area, and today I put in my resignation because of our move, which was kind of a sad day for me, but kind of momentous, I guess, as well.
Oh, it's today.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I'm going to go back for another day, but I had to do the official letter today.
Okay. How do you feel?
I have mixed feelings. This is a move that we're looking forward to be closer to family, but it also is hard because we'll be leaving people that we care about here, and then we love the San Diego area, and so that'll be something we miss. I grew up in Chicago, outside of Chicago, actually, in one of the suburbs. And I was there until I was 18 and went away to college. And at that time, it was very popular to go to Colorado because of the Rocky Mountains. It was just, people thought, oh, that's just the place to be. And it really was a wonderful place for me, with a lot of outdoor activities that I enjoyed. And the university, the Colorado State University, is where I went and studied social work. When I graduated, I wanted to stay in that college town. I really loved the atmosphere, and I was able to get a job in long-term care with elderly, which was my interest at the time, as a social worker. And then I worked for a few years, and I could see that nursing offered much more flexibility in terms of schedule, and so I decided I'd go back to school and get another degree in nursing, so that when I had my family, I'd be able to work part-time and be in demand, which it really was. And that was a good decision when I look back at it. So, and I met my husband, and we had two of our children there. And then his work drew us out to San Diego. I didn't want to leave Colorado, but it was really the best opportunity for him at the time. And we moved 32 years ago, like I was saying. And our youngest child was born out here in Poway, not too far from where we're living. And I worked at the hospital, and at that time I was able to get into maternal infant care, which was something I was very much interested in after having children myself. I also worked as a school nurse at part of the time that I've been here as well. Yeah, I had worked in, when I worked in the hospital in Colorado, I worked on a surgical unit where people were taken care of after they had surgery. It used to be that people stayed in the hospital much longer than they do now. A lot of things are outpatient surgeries, but then they might stay a week after a surgery. So that's the kind of unit I was on. But I was able to transition into working with mothers and babies, and I've stayed there ever since. So I really have enjoyed that. I mean, when you have your own children, you enjoy them when they're little ones, and then they grow up. But here I've had the opportunity to be around people who are experiencing that new part of their life, that new birth young child in their life, and I enjoyed that. It's very rewarding.
Yeah, that's what I met you, when I was with my friend having a baby over here.
Yes.
And I ran into you at your hospital.
Yeah, I remember that too.
And then living in San Diego, so why are you moving again?
Well, it just so happens that our children have all moved to the Colorado or Denver area, and for different reasons. Our son followed his girlfriend there when she lost her job during the pandemic. She was able to get another one there, and he too was able to find work, and they've since gotten married and had a baby. Our oldest daughter has two girls, and they moved there because they could get more house, bigger house and all, and she and her husband are able to work from home as of the pandemic, so they didn't have to stay here necessarily. And then our third child came from Cleveland area to Denver, and she went to University of Colorado, so she's very familiar and has lots of friends there. So they all just kind of came together, and now we want to be with them and with our grandchildren, so that's why we're moving.
It's like a destiny, Everyone is moving back to Colorado.
Yeah, right.
Front of our house. We're about to walk through the front door. It's double doors into our living room, if you want to follow me. Living room, dining room area. We have an office area off the front. Shut the door. And this is our main master bedroom. There's a deck, which is nice off our backyard. We have a pool down there, so it's kind of a nice way to sit out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a master bathroom. And a soaking tub, which is kind of a nice feature, and a lot of houses really, people are looking for that now. They like to have a big tub that anyone can use.
Are you retiring or?
Well, I'm not certain that I will, but it's looking that way because I committed to babysitting for my youngest grandson 3 days a week. So it doesn't leave a lot of extra time, especially when my husband's retired, so he doesn't want me to work every day. So if I do go back to work, it might be after this first year that I'm doing this commitment that I've made to my son and daughter-in-law. So we'll see. And there's other ways that I can maybe do volunteer work where there's my focus now is helping breastfeeding parents or mothers. And there's a coalition they have here in San Diego. They have one there that supports that. And so maybe a volunteer position with them might be in my future. I don't know. Now on the back deck, and it's overlooking the pool. So it's a nice area for having guests spend time outside.
Yeah, very nice. I have another deck over there.
Oh, yeah. We had our first offer, the people backed out because of Pomerado. They said it'd be too noisy.
Oh, really?
Which it can be, I guess.
Is there
It's down, yeah, we're above it, but you can hear like motorcycles, and in the summer it's especially more so.
So in China, it's very common. People get older and then they care of their grandchildren. So my parents lived with my brother with them for 5 years, taking care of my nephew. Mm-hmm. Is it common that for Americans taking care of their grandchildren?
I think it's a real mix. I mean, some people are wanting to do that. I have friends who, like myself, have taken on a role as a caregiver for their grandchildren. It just depends where you're at in your life. If you're still working, that makes it more difficult. But if you're retired, then I think a lot of Americans would be open to helping with their grandchildren, especially with the cost of childcare. That's pretty much why I'm doing it, because it's really going to help my son and daughter-in-law. Mm-hmm. Especially this first year, he can be at home, their child, rather than being in daycare where sometimes they're a little more at risk too for getting sick. So I think, after that period of time, we'll reevaluate and see.
So helping them is the main reason that you decided to do this?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about moving, but it sped this up a lot because they need me to be there by the beginning of March. And so we had thought, we could really have moved after the summer and been happy to wait. But they really needed the help. So yeah, we are leaving more quickly because of that.
How do you see the experience of moving and taking care of your grandchildren impacting your life and your perspective?
I think I'm a little concerned because I have twin granddaughters, and I babysat for them for 6 years, but 1 day a week. And this is a big commitment, 3 days a week. So I'm a little worried about how that might make it more difficult for me to meet people, or might be a little more tied down. Also with travel, because my husband has more flexibility, and this really this commitment makes it a little more difficult for us to take off. We have a travel trailer, which we enjoy. We'd like to be able to go on trips with that. But, again, I have to be there to babysit. So there's a little bit of that, too. I'm wondering how it's all going to work out.
Have you planned all the arrangement?
We're trying to find a home that is pretty much in between each of our children. They live a little bit of distance from each other. The furthest is 50 minutes from my son, who lives the farthest away. So if we could be in between those two, it would be really helpful. I would just be going like in the morning and then staying until probably they get home before they have dinner. I'll go home. So it's like usually like just during the work day that I would be there.
Okay. Still have some personal life.
Yeah,
you know?
yes.
Like my parents, they go there, like live there with my brother for 5 years and
Oh,
then
yeah.
like 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And that's-
Yeah. So I'll have to think of that. That's much more of a commitment than what I'm going to be doing. So.
Yeah.
And I think that when you were asking, is that Americans, I think they would do it more like how I'm doing it, where they would have their own home and then they would go and help as needed.
And how do you see yourself adapting the new environment?
Well, I mean, I have questions about how this, is going to be. I've lived here a long time, and we really love San Diego and our home here, and we love the weather. That's a big deal because right now it's like 1 degree in Denver, and it's been cold all week like that. And here it's probably, close to 70 today. It's just really beautiful. So I'm a little worried about that. We have friends that we have stayed in contact with from when we lived there before. And we have a lot of family. We have my sister-in-law and her husband are moving back there, and their 3 kids and their families are all there with lots of cousins. And that's been nice for my grandchildren, and it's nice for us too. So we have a lot of connections. So that will help us with the transition. But it'll still be a big change.
Moving to a new place, a new city, new state, how would you feel about that? I guess it should be okay because you've been there before.
Right. It's very familiar. I mean, when I moved from there, I hated to leave. So I know I like Colorado. I think it has a lot there that I will enjoy. So that part isn't so hard for me. But I will miss, like I said, things about San Diego that are different from Colorado.
How is the moving part going on? Selling the house, buying a new house in a different place?
Well, the selling the house was a little disappointing because we feel like if we had gotten this together and moved about maybe a year ago, I don't know if it's even that long ago, the prices here were just skyrocketing. People down the street, we couldn't believe what they got for their house. But because of the interest rates coming up and all, it really is a different market now. And so we were hoping for more than we got, but our house was appealing to, a good number of people who came to the open house, and we were lucky to get a couple offers from that and then worked it through with one particular family that's going to move into our home. And that's hard though too, because I love this house, and it means a lot to me to have, had my family grow up here for the most part. I have mixed feelings, I guess. Yeah, it's a little bit of sadness, but all in all, we have a lot to look forward to.
And we redid the kitchen probably like about 5 years ago, and one of the things we really like about it is we have this leather granite, which is kind of a change from what a lot of people put in a few years before that, but we really enjoyed it. I like that look.
So how would you compare the housing market right now and a year back? Is it like how many percent down?
I don't know. It was significant enough. Like I was, we were wanting to go for the higher number and didn't get it. So we didn't, because our realtor actually advised us to get in there at a price that was going to sell, and it did. So I think it was good we listened to her, because, there's a house down the street that's been on the market for like 4 months and just without any real looking, no prospect of selling it anytime soon. So I think we made the right decision.
Is it bedroom?
There's several. So this is kind of a nice house when your kids have grown up a little bit, maybe middle school age, because they have area where they can be apart from the family, some privacy.
That's me. Oh, that's nice.
And this is our family room. It's a nice space too. It's cooler down here.
Where are you in the process right now?
Well, we've already had like the inspections. We've had some things that we were fixing for them, not anything major that came out of that. we're going through getting pre-approved for a house when we buy one in Colorado, and the people who are buying our house, everything looks good with what they've done with their financing. So I think it should all go through.
Have you started looking for a new house in Colorado?
Yeah, we've been looking for quite a long time, but there hasn't been a lot on the market because people are being a little cautious. I think if they have a ability to wait, they're going to wait and see if the market comes up before they sell. We haven't found that just perfect house again.
How do you look? Did you go there?
Online. We have gone there, and we're going to go next week for just a week-long visit, and we'll look again. And then our daughter, actually all three of our children have gone with our realtor, who's our nephew, to look at houses, and they've got some scheduled for this weekend as well.
And a bedroom and bath in here.
Oh, I like this.
Yeah. We call it the golf room, which there is little putting holes in it. My husband is a golfer, so he's enjoyed having it, but it's nice too when you have people over, they always like to try it out.
It's
And
not
we use it for our exercise too. We use the treadmill and weights and that kind of thing.
So this is not heated. This room
Mm-mm.
is on. Okay. This is nice. And how would you compare the housing market here in San Diego versus in Denver, right?
Yeah, it was a lot higher here for a long time in California, but Colorado has really become popular, I would say, and they've come up quite a lot. So it is lower than what, the cost of a home here, but not by all that much, a little bit lower.
You say lower than here or 50%?
No, like 20%.
Any other places, special to you?
Well, I think the pool has been a really something that we didn't use it a lot early on, but when we had our grandchildren over, they really had fun and they learned to swim and were able to use the pool. And so we'd have them over on Sunday, the whole family, and we had special times that we enjoyed being together here.
Could you tell us briefly about your Toastmaster journey?
Well, I think one of the things you wanted to know is why I joined Toastmasters, and I was introduced to it through my daughter, who was living in Thousand Oaks a few years ago, and she became involved with Toastmasters and had a lot of success with them, and in terms of getting to more comfortable speaking in front of a group, and that was something that I wanted to pursue. I really had very limited experience in doing that.
When did you join?
October, I think, of 2018.
I think I joined.
We did.
Yeah.
We joined at the same time, or real close to one another. I enjoyed it for the people primarily. That was a big thing, and I hadn't anticipated that I'd get to meet so many interesting people, and that's what I found very enjoyable. And I also found that I was gaining skill in an area that I needed some help, and I felt like that was available there, and support.
What was the main reason that you decided to join at the first place?
I think there was a warm welcome when I went to visit the club, and I felt a good sense of the group right away. And I probably heard someone speaking, one or two people that kind of drew me in.
Was it about public speaking that you want to improve?
Oh, yes. Not, because I know they have a focus on leadership and some of the other components of Toastmasters, but really for me, it was the public speaking.
And how was the leadership part?
Well, I did use one of the projects to become involved at work with a project that we put on, a skills fair, and I helped to spearhead my portion of it anyway, and that's something I might not have taken on before Toastmasters.
What would you say that Toastmaster helped you the most, either at your career or in your life?
It really helped me in both my career and in my personal life, because I think I'm somebody who was hesitant to speak up, even in a social setting. And I think that having the practice and the feedback helped me to become a little more confident in those other situations too. And definitely in work, like I was mentioning, I'm working in a group and kind of heading that up and getting people involved. And that was something I needed some help with too.
I know that you gave a really nice speech during your son's wedding.
Oh, yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, that was really a high point for me, because I wanted to be able to to be involved in his wedding, which just happened this last year in April. And I wanted to participate and to give something to him to remember. And so I was able to do a toast, and it was what I had learned at Toastmasters that helped me to do that and to feel confident enough to do it.
How did you prepare the toast?
Well, I always, I was thinking, as I'm looking back on my pathway and what I've done in Toastmasters, I always pretty much write out everything, which I don't know if that's always the best way, because you kind of get tied into certain language that you use in the written form. So you have to be a little more at ease when you're speaking, so you don't get worried if you forget a word here or there. But I did do it that way again at his wedding, and I had some cards with me as well if I just really blanked out, but I was able to do it without much of use of the cards.
Did you feel very accomplished?
Very much so, yeah.
Mhm.
Right before I gave the speech, I was, because we had time, it was later in the evening that I'd be giving the speech. I was very nervous, and it was just, 100 people. Well, I had never spoken in front of that many people before. After it was done, a sense of relief, but also happy that it went well.
Mm-hmm. Congratulations for...
Yeah, thank you.
Also, the whole Toastmaster journey, what have you achieved, in terms of program and maybe other things as well?
Well, I'm just finishing my pathway, even though it's taken me this whole period of time. I might, I know you've done a couple in that amount of time, which I think is great, but I just took it very slowly. And each of the assignments seemed to build on the next. And I felt like I got a lot out of each one and just worked my way through it.
So I know that you finished the level 5 of presentation mastery.
Mm-hmm.
You are very soon you're giving us the review of the whole path.
Right. Yeah. I'm working on that right now, which is kind of interesting. I saved all my speeches, and I saved comments that the group makes, because when you give your speech afterwards, your fellow Toastmasters will write out, or now we just text it. That was always helpful to me to look at those and to have that feedback.
Did you face any challenges, during the Toastmaster journey so far?
Well, sure, I really did, because some of these assignments that I was given along the pathway were challenging for me, and they really pushed me. I remember one that was not so long ago was dealing with a difficult audience, and I found that very intimidating, and I kind of put it off because I was afraid, like, how am I going to handle that? It's hard enough just to keep on track when you're speaking without having interruptions or people give you a hard time, which was part of this assignment. And it ended up, it was good. The thing about Toastmasters, everybody's very supportive. So they did give me a little trouble during the speech, but they backed off pretty quickly too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it went very well. I was there the other, when you did that project.
Uh-huh.
So we have different kinds of projects in the program. So what kind of project that you feel intimidated or hard to do, or which kind of project you find easier to do?
Well, I guess it's always easier if you're talking about something that you've experienced, because you remember the experience and you can it's almost like talking off the top of your head. It comes easily. Some of the ones that I find more difficult to give is a speech that maybe had a lot of technical information and information that you want to convey, but it might be hard to remember. That's what I kind of struggle with that, because especially in a longer speech, if there's a lot of information and you want to keep it all rolling, and sometimes you're kind of searching, to remember it all.
Like higher levels, there are some project-related projects. How do you find those projects? Like high performance leadership, managing projects successfully?
Well, I try to tie it in with things at work, so that I would get some benefit out of it, or the people I work with might. And so those are, working in a team. I know I worked on the 40th anniversary for our club, so that involved pulling in some other club members, so that it wasn't just me taking it on, which is often how I like to do things, because it's hard to ask other people to give up their time. Everybody's really busy, and we have an early morning meeting, so when I would try to ask people to come in, I would be doing it before our 7 o'clock meeting, and that's pretty tough, but I had a good response from membership. So because that was a pretty exciting project to work on, the 40th anniversary. I think everybody was really happy that was happening for our club and wanted to participate.
Any other interesting stories that you remember during your Toastmaster journey?
Well, I just remember people who have been in our club and they, some people don't stay a long time. They kind of come and get what they need from Toastmasters and then move on, because it is a big commitment in terms of time if you're a full-time working person. So I've missed some of those people. I've enjoyed their speeches, and that's something I find a little tough being a part of the group. I think I've benefited a lot from people who are there, who come from all over, like yourself, coming from China. Then we have people from Hungary, Japan. That to me is, I've not had that experience of interacting with so many people from other places in the world.
So you think that the success of our club, one part is the diversity of the people?
I do. I think, that is something that we miss in some of the areas that we live in San Diego. But in general, I think it's much more diverse than other areas I've lived. Colorado, when I lived there 30 years ago, I think it'll be much different now when I return. I think the club itself is just brought in a lot of people from different backgrounds, and I enjoy that.
So if someone new joined Toastmasters, a new Toastmaster member, what suggestions would you give them?
Well, I was the membership VP, and so I guess I would just be very encouraging them to try it out and see if it's a good fit for them. I think people can benefit from in a lot of different ways, not just like for me, the public speaking portion of it. Some people for their work situation could benefit from what they might get from Toastmasters as well. I would just encourage them to come and see what we have to offer.
Jeanne, thank you so much for agreeing to this interview
Sure.
for me. I really appreciate it. So is there anything else you want to say to me or to the audience?
Well, I think that's really exciting that it's going to be people maybe who don't have a lot of experience with Toastmasters or a lot of knowledge. So I hope that this can be helpful to them to get interested in what Toastmasters has to offer.
Is there anything you want to say to the audience, Chinese people, what's their impression about American? Anything you want to comment and want to say to them?
Well, I wish I could hear what their impression of Americans are, but I guess this is only a one-way street, or one-way interview, so I don't know.
Yeah, like I said, one of the impression is that like Americans don't take care of the grandchildren, Chinese people do, things like that.
Yeah, no, I think, back to grandparenting, I mean, a lot of my friends are doing that. So I think that people want to be involved in their grandchildren's lives, and so they are finding out how they can help. And so it's a little different, but still important to Americans.
Okay, thank you, Jeanne.
You're welcome.
And thank you all, everyone. I hope you enjoyed today's interview, today's program. I certainly did enjoy Jeanne's story. And if you do like the program, like the video, please like it and share it. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.